Hey, welcome everybody. This is Making Waves, the ShipRocked podcast. We are part of the Sound Talent Media family and the Evergreen Podcast family. And we are here today. This is Al McManus. I'm sitting in for our lovely and talented host, Justin Press, who is currently sailing the open waters where his hair flows freely. Alongside me here is my north, my south, my east, my west, my working week and my Sunday rest. Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely and the talented Chad Nicefield. Chad,
I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for the intro.
man, you are so welcome. I ripped that off of 4 Weddings and a Funeral just for you.
I know. I knew it verbatim too. You spoke it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw your lips moving with mine. It was magical.
Thanks.
So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Making Waves, we have Mikey from Islander, whose new album is called "It's Not Easy Being Human." Then that album is coming out on April 1st on Better Noise Records. The album features guest appearances from Korn, P.O.D., Elvis Presley, Living Sacrifice, Hyra the Hero, Lacey Sturm, Fire from the Gods, I Prevail, Under Oath, Tom Petty, Richard Nixon, Dave Mustaine. Some of these I'm making up, obviously.
And Coulier, right?
Coulier and Coolio. But honestly, like, this thing's got everybody on it, and we'll dive into that and get some, I'm sure we'll get some cool stories about how that all came together. They're currently on tour with Attila and are coming at us live from the windblown Joliet, Illinois. Is it still in Illinois?
It's still in Illinois. It's
on. Well, welcome, Mikey. Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much for having me, man. We respect you guys and love you guys, and it's an honor. So
I know how difficult it can be when you're out there on the road, taking time away to do this, specifically when you're in like shoddy situations, green rooms, back rooms. Is there Wi-Fi? So it's extra special for us when this moment like happens, when we can connect, when you're actually doing the business. So thank you again,
dude. Guys, my pleasure.
So Mikey, you're backstage. You're going to go on stage here in what, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or so?
Something like that.
What does your personal ritual look like other than a tall glass of drinking water? What do you do to get what do you do to get primed up?
Usually I go and I change into all my show clothes, all my stinky show clothes, and I take one little hit. When I say a little hit, I'm saying like that much, like a shot of whiskey to open up my throat, because it always kind of opens up my throat and gets me, my blood kind of flowing. I'm not taking like an actual shot. It's like medical quality, or medical volume, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Quantity, then, a medical quantity of a legal beverage.
Yes. And then what I do is I start doing my warm-ups. Well, no, first I paint my face, as you can see.
Yes.
I started doing that because all my favorite wrestlers growing up, I mean, I'm really into pro wrestling, and all my favorite wrestlers, they always painted their faces, like Ultimate Warrior and Sting. And finally, several years ago, I became really, really good friends with Sting, the wrestler, and he taught me how to paint my face, and he taught me what to use and how to do it correctly. And I just wanted to implement that into what we're doing as a band. And paint my face is kind of like putting on war paint almost. Like, soon as this is on, I feel like I'm ready to play a show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do my warm-ups. Jacoby from Papa Roach, he when we toured with them a few years ago, he taught me how to not blow my voice out by doing warm-ups. So I went and got some voice lessons, and I do warm-ups all the time now. So
what do those warm-ups mean? Is it just like running scales? Is it like because I've been around a lot of singers, and everybody's kind of got their own way. What's the trick for you to get you properly warmed up?
For me, I do 3 sessions of this lip roll. It's like, and I just do that, and it's got all these other, I hit all these different keys and pitches or whatever, and then like after I do it 3 times, I don't know, 3 times like the magic number, it makes me feel like I'm ready to play. I think at this point it's just all in my head. Like I'm just become like routine.
Yeah, but you know what? Try going out on the stage and doing it one night without that, and then prove to yourself it's probably not in your head. It's probably a wise thing to do.
There's been times where my throat's been like sore, and I'll do that, and next thing I know, I'm able to hit better notes and stuff even from that. So it does work. There's something to it.
Yeah, for
Is
sure.
this a Melissa Cross? Lip trills is what I think. Is that the same thing? Is it like
Yes.
we almost start with a static note
Yeah.
and then you start to introduce the scale?
Right. And
Yeah.
I watched like some of her DVDs and stuff, and like she's so good. She explains everything so well.
Yeah,
So
she does a really good job of the mechanics of what you're doing in real time, so you understand why it's important. It's great.
Yep.
Do the band, what do the band guys do? They jump and jumping jacks, or what do they do? What's the story with them?
No, usually they we're kind of like a calm band off stage. When we get on stage, we kind of let loose. So I think beforehand, it's kind of like almost scary calm. People see us and they're like, like, are you guys going to get pumped up? Because I've never been the kind of person that likes when people come up and go, are you ready to rock? And like me be like, I can't be like, yeah, I'm ready to rock. I have to kind of like put myself in this mindset of like, okay, like what I'm about to do is probably going to be super dangerous. So I need to kind of really make sure that I don't know, I don't think about it too hard before I do it, or I'm not going to want to do it. Because I like climb on top of speakers and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets kind of crazy sometimes.
And that's probably a good reason to only do a tiny little medicinal shot of alcohol before the gig, and not the half a bottle of pills and vodka and all the other bad shit that can happen.
I don't. I don't. Yeah, I don't do any of that. None of us do any of that. But yeah, we're so calm. Like we're the kind of band that the craziest thing we do, like I said, like we'll be like, man, I think I ate too late. I'm gonna get heartburn or something. Like,
yeah,
like we just don't pretend to do the whole like rock and roll rock star thing. Like we're not like that. I've got a wife at home and a dog, and I like playing Nintendo and watching Disney movies when I'm on the road. So that's kind of what I do. And then on stage, that's where I let loose and do all the flips into the crowd and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
At least somebody can remember. So you're not doing it beforehand, break your leg skateboarding or something like that, and no one saw it. But if you do it in front of a room full of people, they're like, "Dude, this dude's fucking BA out there, like,
exactly,
breaking bone." Yeah, make it worth it if you're gonna do it.
It'll be like a cool story, like where there's pictures and stuff, instead of me being like, "Oh, like I broke my toe." Like,
yeah, that's how you get fired from a job. It's like, no, you didn't. You're late. You're fired. Broke your leg skateboarding by yourself. Very likely story. I had a question real quick in that whole realm of things, if you don't mind, since you're out on tour with, for instance, my old band Wilson toured with He Is Legend and Attila, right? That's who's on the tour with you guys.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Is this your first tour? I should probably bring this back. Is this your first tour since like full opening, after the pandemic, or is this like
we did like a run in September 2021 just to kind of get our feet wet and see what it was like out there, and but this is our first full-blown, like, we're dropping an album, we're doing, we brought the backdrop back out, and like we're like being a band, like we just did the other one just because we were like, let's go see what it's like out there, and just kind of try to remember what it's like to hold an instrument, because we haven't like done that in a long time, like on stage. We've done it at home, but different on stage. So
then that brings me to that's perfect. My question was, is that muscle memory then? Because now you're in the rigmarole of every day, right? Even though the landscape changes, including what variables there are with people and all of that, but you guys are still doing the same thing in the confines of that landscape. Does muscle memory kind of like immediately kick in, or are there other places that you're finding yourself like, oh shit, yeah, we forgot to get that bin, we didn't get merch bins, or whatever, just the smallest things. I'd love to hear how it's going on for you guys.
I think for us, I know that, going back to September where we first started doing it again, it was weird to even put in like my in-ear monitors. Like that felt weird because they had just been sitting there for 2.5 years or whatever, and putting those in and changing out all the batteries in our pack, like changing strings on guitars and stuff, like all of that stuff had to be done, and that did feel very foreign. But we've been on this tour, I want to say like 2 weeks, and it's all starting to feel very normal and natural again. Like we had a van breakdown already.
Natural.
Normal and natural. Yeah,
normal, natural. Speaking of which.
Yeah, it's true. That feels very, it's not unfamiliar to me to go through that. Like this time I didn't even really freak out. Like usually I'm like, what are we gonna do? This time I was like, all right, just let me think for a second. Like, so here we are though. We're still at the shows. So
are you the problem solver? Are you like the tour dad when you're out there with the band? Are you?
No. I'd say for me, I'm the guy that's always on my phone coming up with like ideas for press, or like even with you guys, I messaged you guys and I was like, hey, like we have a record coming out. Like I know that we're on a label that has taken really good care of us so far, and it's been great. And I've just never been one of the people that sits around and waits for somebody else to do it. I feel kind of like, this is our band, this is our baby. Like I don't have to wait for somebody to go tell somebody about our band. Like we've always had that punk rock mentality, so we've just never lost that. So I'm just like, oh, like we have to go tell people about our band, so let's go do that. And so I think that's who I am in the band, coming up with like ideas as far as like art direction with my brother a lot. He's the bass player, and we're kind of like the guys that are super interested in like the art direction and all that kind of stuff. And then our guitar player Eric, he's the very technical, like, hey, I'm gonna make sure all of our gear is working on stage tonight kind of thing. So we didn't have all those dynamics. I don't think we could do this.
Yeah. I mean, it's that was the first thing I was thinking about. I was like, what do those roles look like? Because in every band, whether they realize it or not, the members have like should at least be contributing to that whole. Yeah. And if if you find yourself in a situation, well, that's another story for another time. But when you're when you're in a situation out there on the road, you're you're like a crew, not even a crew. A crew is a way different.
You're an
situation.
army. You're an army,
like,
man.
Yeah, you're an army, and like beyond your actual crew members that are helping you, in that fight towards the good life or whatever it is, you still have to take care of your responsibilities to make sure that the brothers and sisters around you can do their job inside of that. So I was just wondering what that feels like. I know so many times I could think in my head, I'm like, I would have forgot the merch bins, or whatever, whatever it may or may not have been,
Yeah, no, we didn't actually. We have the one merch bin on this one, but like we're back to like some of the cardboard box kind of things, like where we picked them up, and like we just haven't even thought to like get rid of those yet. And like we're like, don't put them down too hard or they'll break or whatever. So there's always that.
It's the tape job, man.
Yeah.
So Mikey, you talked about something interesting, kind of along these lines, where you got to go out there and you feel like you got a label that helps you out. But there's also the band's got to work at it too, right? I mean, I think that's been like in my career in artist management, and now with putting together ShipRocked, it's that you see those things. It's like the bands that are successful and can carry on and continue to create art or art on kind of on their terms are the bands that go out and go the extra mile. I mean, I had a lot of clients over the years that they'd come in and chat. I sound like an idiot when I say this, but it's totally true. It's like, you know what? There's no destination here, boys. Like there is no destination. There is simply a set of stairs in front of us that we need to climb. Like just because you get your record dealer, just because you get your first publishing deal, you get your agent, or you find a great lawyer, it's like, good for you. There's still stairs right in front of you that you have to keep climbing, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's totally healthy and good for you guys that you don't have that kind of spirit of somebody else is going to take care of it, because they won't. And that has nothing to do with whether they're competent or good or believe in you. It's just that that's not how it works. You got to work as hard, right? You got to work as hard as a record label. And me as a manager for a long time, I got to work with clients who are willing to work as hard as I am, right?
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you guys got the right plan and the right mindset.
You hit the head with it. Like, we've never looked at it kind of like, oh man, we're signed, like somebody's going to take care of us. Cause we've learned that's just not the case. I feel like, the label, they start moving their feet when they start seeing us move ours. That's the kind of what I've always learned, at least. Like our most recent music video, we shot and directed it, shot it on my iPhone, edited it on my phone. It's got HR from Bad Brains in it, and we just dropped that. And yeah, like just stuff like that, or even like, reaching out to the people we've met over the years at radio. Like we built our own relationships with these people. Like I don't know. I don't like everything to always seem so businessy and fake or whatever. It's like, well, I've built like real relationships with these people. I can send them our music even before it comes out, just be like, hey, like, why don't you check it out?
Right. Except for us, we didn't get it, but it's cool. I mean, you know, we're just getting, you know, we're working through things. You know, we had that incident in the bathroom that Chad, you know, where Chad, it was inappropriate. Let's be honest, Chad, and you're willing to admit that.
Yeah.
Right.
The biggest thing about making changes is understanding where the road was
That's
broken.
right. The rose between two thorns.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. But yeah,
So-
so I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. But it,
No,
yeah, I mean,
you're fine.
but it's totally healthy, man. And you guys, I feel like that's a really cool thing that you guys understand and are willing to do. And good for you. Good for you guys.
Yeah, dude, definitely.
I wanted to talk about that video.
I want to ask Chad about his dog. Like, I just saw your dogs.
Oh shit, it's always about Carl. Here we go.
It is like
Sorry,
yeah, his name is Carl, and Carl has a new toy that I thought he could handle waiting at least an hour for me to play with. And this is Carl. And Carl is not interested in what I'm doing. He just wants to
Ever.
My goodness.
Ever.
I love him.
So he
Best
basically
friend
took the place of whatever female companionship you would have in your life.
Yeah.
Also not interested in anything you have going on.
Do you have a dog, Mikey? Yes.
I do. I have 2 dogs. I have a dog named Charlie, who is a long-haired Chihuahua. He's like 17 years old. And I have a little Chihuahua named Lucas. And he's a church, but like he's obsessed with me and my wife. So like he's totally cool with us. But I don't know, like I miss him a lot right now. So yeah,
I don't know if I would be. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that even on the ship, I think it was crying to Al or somebody. I was like, it wasn't you, Al, because I remember that.
No, you wouldn't have. You would know better you would know better than to cry to me about missing your dog.
Miss Carl. It was the only time that I had ever been away from him too since I got him. So I'm like in the shower one day, like it was fucking
that was the moment. That was when I was talking about the inappropriate moment.
Yeah.
And we held each other and you wept in my arms, my warm, loving arms.
He was wet too.
Yeah.
So the skateboard flowers video that you said you shot it on your cell phone and edited it yourself on the iPhone?
Yeah, we had just that tour in September that I was talking about, and we were like, let's shoot like a video or whatever. So we took a white sheet and we put it up in the basement, and we just took a flashlight. Our sound guy, Seth, he held the flashlight behind us, and we just filmed all these silhouettes of us performing the song. And then my friend James, he actually did the HR documentary, Finding Joseph I. Mm-hmm. And he had some leftover footage from shooting that documentary. And he was like, dude, let me send you this footage of HR to throw in the video. So, you know, he heard the song and thought it was sick and stuff. So it just worked out perfectly. So I took that and threw it in my laptop and threw all the footage together and threw it over to the label. And they were like, cool, let's put it out. So yeah, punk rock.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. And it looks, I mean, to be honest, I just watched it right before we went on. I was like, oh, you were like, you did it on cell phones. Like, I have to rewatch it now knowing that, but it was like, shit, it was.
Yeah. You wouldn't know, right?
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I'm interested in hearing about, okay, so the new record's coming out. It's called It's Not Easy Being Human, which sounds like a completely appropriate name for everything, everywhere, always, right? Because it certainly isn't. So and there's a new single coming, right? March 30th, which is that today? Is that today?
It's tomorrow that it comes out.
March 31st.
31st.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so good. I didn't miss it. And that song is called Skin Crawl, and that's featuring Brian Head Welch from Korn. Is that right?
And sorry, I was gonna say Bruce Fitzgerald
Bruce Fitzhugh.
And Dan of Zale, which is crazy to me that all those names are on that one song, Mikey. And I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so glad you know about them, because it was an honor for us. All 3 of them are legends. And so we got Brian to play guitar on the track, and Dan and Bruce came in on guest vocals. So it's like a rap album. Like there's 10 guest artists on the whole record. We just brought in a bunch of our friends and said, let's just have fun and write a bunch of songs together. And we wanted to support each other. I feel like a lot of times in, the hip hop world, we see artists kind of support each other in that way. And we just wanted to bring that culture into rock and roll. And instead of trying to one up each other all the time, we're like, let's lean on each other and show people like what it's like to support one another and not try to, you know, use them as a stepping stone or try to get ahead of them by getting on the bigger tour or whatever. It's just like, and I know that it's like, you know, people could say, oh, you guys got guest appearances just for clout. And it's like, no, we these are our friends. And some of these guest artists, they're old school, man. A lot of these kids aren't going to know who they are. So I feel like we're doing a service by introducing some of these old, you know, legendary bands as far as like, you know, legacy acts and stuff that are still doing stuff, still doing innovative stuff. Like Zayo and Living Sacrifice still do stuff. And I just think it's awesome that they're on a track with like us and Korn. So,
dude, I can't tell you how much I've of what you said I agree with and subscribe to those ethos myself. And the idea of what you're doing by putting people in a track is not about clout gaining, it's about clout togetherness. And what they actually, in a sense, someone like an HR, right? You know, people of in our world, we know who that is, but kids that might be listening to Islander have no fucking clue who that is. And you're doing them a service just as much as they are doing you a service. So it's actually, again, clout gathering, to, you know, and that's even a bad way to even describe it. But I think if I was I come from that world. I was in a Christian screamo band years and years ago. Everybody in the band was straight up devout Christians except for me, so it was always odd. And we toured with like bands. I played with all of these bands, Quarterstone back in the year. So when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, this dude must have some roots in that area, especially when it comes to Living Sacrifice and Bruce and the guys. Like Zayo, maybe you would hear that name and remember it, but that was a hard pull from a very specific area. So I was going to ask you, did you grow up in that culture, or what's the homage for you?
Yeah. So like my brother, he's 7 years or 6.5 years older than me, and so he was kind of finding these bands, and I would hear him coming out of his bedroom and stuff, and it would be like crazy because I don't look at any of it like, oh man, like I was from this Christian scene or non-Christian scene or anything like that. It's just, we had these certain clubs in town that were bringing in these bands. And at the time we called them underground bands. Like, you don't hear that word a lot anymore. Like underground, you just kind of say like, oh, is this band, you know, had their big break yet or whatever. But like back then it was kind of like the band could be big, but big in the underground. And I feel like a lot of the bands we were going to see, like Zayo and Living Sacrifice and stuff like that, even POD at the time, POD was kind of on the come up, and we saw them at like a $2 show one time, and you know, go down the road a few years, and next thing you know, they're like this multi-platinum, you know, band. And I don't know, I love knowing that the bands that we're into, like as far as like the bands that we try to promote ourselves and stuff, they've always been hustle bands, you know, like POD and some of these people, like people see them on MTV in the 90s and the 2000s, and they think, oh, like they never had to work for anything. Like, no, they worked and worked and worked. And we want to be one of those kind of bands that grinds. You know, we've heard the statement, you know, we don't want to take elevators, we want to take the steps up, because that's kind of what we want to do, want to be able to earn it. And yeah, it's just about respect. We just respect those artists so much. We wanted to bring them in and say, you know, it's an honor for us, and it's so cool. And we nerd out thinking like these people are going to be on our music. So yeah, I grew up, you know, knowing about some of the Christian bands, but in no way, shape, or form was it about having to listen to them. It was just, you know, this band's sick. And like, I would be like, oh, I like Deftones, I like Converge, I like Living Sacrifice and Zayo. I never lumped them up in their own, you know, separate thing. It was just cool bands.
Yeah, you just like what you like.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on for hours about all of that stuff that seemingly we probably fall in the same space, but I don't want to bogart there. My bad, Al.
No, not at all. No, it's all good. You're still learning. You're still learning how to do this, man. It's episode 80. You know, you've been there for most of them. I'm kind of the new guy, and I don't know why I'm having to carry the weight here, Chad. Okay,
my bad.
I need a raise or a promotion.
So this song, it comes.
So anyway, back to the song. Yeah, let's talk about the song.
Are you excited?
We have a song coming out tomorrow. I'm so stoked. We haven't put a new record out in 6 years. We've dropped some singles every so often, you know, to kind of keep people's attention, because, you know, during that time we've been on tour with Korn and Baby Metal and Stone Sour and stuff. And we were like, how come we're touring and doing all these big tours without like a new record or anything? So we were like, we got to put like singles out. So 5 of the songs that are on the new record, they've already released prior, but there's 12 other songs that no one's heard yet. Well, besides Skateboard Flowers, people heard that. So yeah, it's a whole new album, 17 songs. We wanted to do that for our fans because it's been so long, and there's no interludes or anything like that, so they're not getting like gypped. It's just a bunch of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're super stoked. We're gonna try to go to Disneyland on this tour just to celebrate how stoked we are.
Okay. Yeah. So can we do it now? You just won the Super Bowl. Where are you going next? And you're gonna be like, I'm going to Disneyland.
I'm going to Disneyland.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone in the band's got to have the protective hearing on, like the kids in the Super Bowl. So no, the screaming. Anyway, I'm thinking of Super Bowl winners, and I don't know why. So you and your brother are in the band.
Yeah.
How did I mean, 6 years right now, 6 years age difference isn't a lot, right? Right now. Right. Yeah. But when one is 6 and one is 12, or one is 12 and one is 18, it's huge. Right. How did that dynamic work out, and where did it start? And was he like the influence on you, and where did this whole thing start?
He was definitely the influence on me. He was going to, all these shows, and he was kind of, again, I was hearing all this music come out of his bedroom, out of his boombox, and I wasn't really ready for it at first. And again, I was saying I was into pro wrestling. Well, I was collecting like action figures all the time. And one night I was sitting in the dining room. I was 13 years old. I know that's probably too old for some people to be playing with toys, but I had all my wrestling figures out. And my brother comes over and said, dude, you're getting too old for this. You've got to go to like a show. Well, the last time he had taken me to a show, I saw a band called 90 Pound Wuss and MXPX. And I was in the 5th grade, and I was terrified. My brain was not ready for that. And then he told me, he was like, you've got to come to this show with me tonight. It was at a small club, like 200 kids showed up, and it was Guano Apes and POD. And I guess there was just something about the 13-year-old angst that was inside of me that was like, oh, this is what I needed. And people were doing flips off the stage, and it was crazy. And ever since that moment, I was like, oh man, I'm in love with music. And then I found this band called Ludacris, not to be confused with the rapper out of Atlanta, but they were a band called Ludacris, which later changed their name to Norma Jean, which the original lead singer, Josh Scoggin, he's in the band 68 now, which ShipRockers will know. And I went and saw his band play at this gymnasium in a church, and he was like hanging upside down from the basketball goal. He like did a flip into the drum kit and blew fire or something, like literally. And at that moment I was like, all right, like this is what I'm gonna do. Like I want to do this with my life. I had no clue how to do it. I was just like, that's what I'm gonna do. So it's funny now because I'm friends with like all these guys, and whenever I tell them these stories, it's nerdy because I'm a fan, but I'm a friend, so we call it Fran. That's what I'm like, I'm your Fran. So,
and in the South, that sounds pretty good, right? South of the Mason-Dixon, you can't tell the difference, man. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Hey,
it sounds
good friend of mine.
It sounds like these two worlds have now intersected and collided in your mind at this moment. Like you're like, wait a second. So I saw MXPX, and that was 3 dudes, probably at the time 3 dudes standing there playing their guitar. There's some energy from the crowd, but I never seen the band do wrestling type sort of stuff. Essentially, I didn't know that was possible. So I would assume your mind was like, brother loves this. I like the music, but what's going on here is making me love the music even more because it's my youth is.
There was just something about that. I was just like, I didn't know that it existed, and when I found that, I came home and my whole world had changed. And I annoyed my brother so bad after that because I was, trying to band and do this and that. And then we both ended up in separate bands, being like, hey, like, let's make some music together. Like, I know it's funny, but I guess he was a little older than me. So, we had different friends. And, but now, it doesn't feel like an age difference. So,
yeah, it gets closer the older you get, right? It doesn't seem like there's but there's a big it's a big gap. But you know what, and that kind of tells you why you have a little bit more of an older soul when it comes to music, and you're probably, for your age, you're probably more familiar with that slightly older music. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I know I had an older brother like that too, and it was like he was bringing home Rush albums, like the full vinyl, the whole thing, and he
Yeah.
would bring them home, and I would just stare at him for like hours and hours and spin the record, you know. And I wouldn't have been exposed to that because that was kind of, it was just that much more, it was just that much older than me, right? I was,
Right.
you know, whatever the hell
Yeah.
whatever the hell I was listening to was not that,
Bands,
you know.
I definitely know about some bands and music I probably would have never, had the opportunity to know about unless I had an older brother. So I'm grateful though, because I don't know. I'm glad I know about those bands, but sometimes it feels like a curse because I miss that aspect of music, kind of just like finding music, at a record store and being like, I'm gonna buy this and see what it sounds like, and then you fall in love with it. And now I can just go on YouTube and I don't have to sit with it and live with it and feel like, oh, I purchased this album, so I'm gonna learn to love it. Now it's just kind of like, we listen to 10 seconds of a song and we think we like it or not.
Yeah.
So
It's funny that you mentioned that. I was just thinking about this the other day. What I've found myself doing is how do I say it? I like fanboy out on stuff. And it started during the last 2 years where I became like a real engulfed, not even just music. Like I'm into YouTubers specific, and it's the same thing. At first I'm going through all these channels, but then I find something that like hits me, right? And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then the way that their humor wraps into the storytelling, whatever it is. And then I fucking purchase their merch. Like I go out and I like get to their website and I go buy some dude that's talking about how stupid people who believe in conspiracy theories are. And then I wear that thing that nobody else knows about. Somebody in the public will see it and be like, oh, that's that's
they're like,
birds aren't real
this?
or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, and then it's the same feeling as when I was a kid going to school with like a Zayo shirt on, all right, or and being like commiserating with my friends. And I don't know, man. I think that there's something that there's a plus and a negative to the idea of like I miss buying a record, sitting on the toilet and looking at all the notes and figuring out what bands they like, so I can go check out other music. Yeah. But the feeling for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe guessing how you feel, is it still exists, and it's just as tempered as it was before. It's just a little harder to find the cream of the crop because you have the tool to move on. You don't have to be committed. I think Islander does a really good job at finding committed fans. That's where I was going with it all, because it is the truth. I've been on the road, and I've seen it, talked to people. The ShipRockers are a perfect example of it. They are the idea of a committed fan that is sifted through bullshit.
They family and they follow wherever, and they want to just support you, and we feel that same way back to them. We want to support them, and it's like, it goes beyond the music. We talk about real situations and things going on at home and all that kind of stuff, and that's the thing I love about music. It's not so much the songs or whatever that are just whatever. It's the connection that we can make through that. And hey, real quick, speaking of my brother that taught me everything, there he is.
What's up,
man? How's it going? How are things in sunny Joliet?
What's that?
How are things in sunny Joliet, Illinois?
It's actually raining here.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to be an optimist.
Yeah, no, too late. No, but yeah, well, hey, it's just raining. It's excited to play the show tonight.
That's awesome. We are presently live on Facebook, and I wanted to say to all of our guests who are tuning in right now, hello, welcome. Clearly, it's Mikey here from Islander and his bass playing whip ass brother. They're actually coming to us live backstage. The Forge, is it tonight? Is that what we said? Yeah. Right. So super cool to have you guys. I know our guests are tuning in and checking you guys out. New album April 1st. With everybody under the sun contributing musically. And then we also have a new single tomorrow. So this is like bang, bang stuff going on right now, right? A lot of, so first of all, thank you for spending the time with us, because I know you guys are busy going on going to play a show. But let's, we'll incorporate our ShipRocked guests here who are viewing and give them a shout out. Good evening, everyone. So since we do have a little bit of a captive audience here with our ShipRocked family, and you just broached the subject, you brought it up. let's talk about ShipRocked. So you've been on Islander's been on twice. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Yes. Now everybody's got their favorite ShipRocked story. Might you have one queued up and ready for us?
Oh man. I would say the two that kind of come to mind first of all are the first year that we were on ShipRocked. We were in Mexico and we rented golf carts. And I remember we went to the beach and we ate these pineapple pork tacos on this beautiful, just backyard. Yeah, it was in somebody's backyard. Like we went kind of like to the hood. Like I don't know if we should have done that, but like it was beautiful, and the culture over there was just awesome. And they were chopping up coconuts for us to drink, and we just rode around those golf carts having a good time. And then the other one is when I performed Last Resort with Papa Roach. The next year, I guess. That was magical because me and Jacoby, we're good friends, and it's always fun to do stuff with them. But it was just something, special about being out in the middle of the ocean with all the ShipRocked family and performing that song with them. And, just thinking back to seeing them on MTV as a kid and stuff and be like, man, this is crazy. Like my life is bananas right now.
Yeah. Also,
I ate a bunch of steaks. I ate like 3 or 4 steaks in one sitting, and it upset my. It was worth it.
And I didn't move my bowels for a month.
Yeah. It was the worst week of my life when we got home. But
are you prone to do this? Because this just hit me out of left field. And are you prone to do this, or were you have an iron deficiency, or what was going on?
No, I just like food a lot.
He's like, how much are the steaks?
Free? They can't, like they're free. Yeah, I was like, I'll take another one. So next thing you know, I'm like on number 3 or 4, and my wife looks at me and she's just like, all right, you're cut off. So like, while most people are like worried about drinking too much, I'm over here just like, I got to cut back on these steaks.
You're lucky your wife was there. Jeez, how many do you think you could have eaten? Were you done after 4? Or were you like, I got room for another 1 or 2 of these delicious boys?
I had 4 steaks.
I don't like. She always calls me a goldfish. Like they're gonna eat until they die, and like I feel like that's how I am. Like I just like food so much that it's like it's like art that you can eat. And when they keep bringing out steaks and they're like it's free, I'm like, well, when else am I gonna have like a bunch of free steaks sitting in front of me?
Well, you're right. It's good. Only on ShipRocked, that's for sure.
Yeah. For sure. We Alan and I just did a cruise a couple weeks ago, just as like a little site visit, checking out ships, and same thing, man. It's like you go on, you're like, I'm gonna do really well, I'm gonna do this, and it's like I'm trying to cut back on some foods, and it's like I smash those foods, man. Like there's just no, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds before I go on this cruise, the vacation, then you gain it, and then you get back and you're like, oh wait, somehow I'm up 20. So how did this work out? Right?
Yeah. The food list.
I have a question before we move into I think probably one of the segments. If I'm incorrect, let me know, Al. But I have a question specifically about the new record, and more or less about your when does it come out? When did you record it first? When does it come out? And then, if you don't mind, could you tell us about what that process was like for this record for you guys?
Oh man, it was a nightmare. So it comes out April.
Steaks and Nightmares, dude. This is the best episode yet.
Steaks and Nightmares, new band name. Yeah, Steaks and Nightmares. I think they're opening the show tonight in Joliet.
Yeah.
Nightmares, dude. That'll be our next EP.
Nice.
So it comes out April 1st. We used to be on Victory Records, and the old story with Victory or whatever, like so we got off Victory and we recorded a record independently. Like we paid for it and everything. And the next thing you know, a label called Outer Loop came along and they said, hey, we really like your record. We want to put the record out. So we were like, okay, cool. Like we'll sign that and get like the advance or whatever. And like, it's not like anything crazy. It was just a 1 album distribution deal. It was going to be great. And so we signed that. They purchased the album. We put out 2 singles, and then Better Noise they ended up hearing the record and they were like, oh, we like the record, we're going to put it out. So they purchased it off of them. So now it's, you know, it's gone from independent to another label to another label. And Better Noise said, hey, like we love the record, but since it's taken a bit, you know, to put it out, why don't you guys go ahead and just write some more songs and then the pandemic hit, so we didn't get to put the record out again because they were like, you know, we don't know how to put the record out during a pandemic. Some bands are going to try it, but who knows what that'll look like. So we were like, let's just keep writing some songs while we have this time and record them. So we recorded some of the songs in our trailer and in our basement. And actually the song coming out tomorrow, Skin Crawl, we wrote that at our house in the basement, tracked some of it in the basement and tracked some of it in the trailer. And that's the one that Head played guitar on. And Dan, he recorded all his vocals in our trailer. And then Bruce went to a studio in Nashville and recorded his vocals. And we threw it all together. And again, like going back, like I know we're not like a punk rock band, but like we believe in that punk rock DIY mindset. So we did all of this again, like by ourselves with our friends. Like we just were like, hey, our friend Sticky, he used to be our guitar tech, he knows how to record bands, so we'll track with him. And next thing you know, the label's like, cool, that's the single. And we're like, what? So yeah,
that's crazy.
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
So when you supersede what is your history, you know, in the most devastating of time, and on top of it, when you're able to do it your way, and it still gets the treatment that it you know, when you're behind closed doors, folks, when you're in those situations with labels, they're definitely least inclined to use the song that might be DNA, as what might be a good word to describe it, as the lead single for a record, right? They're always going to use like something that's been polished, went through the thing, even just a mastering alone, if it hasn't been touched by some of the industry's qualified professionals, like less likely to use it. So you just like cross so many barriers and checklists off for all these rock people who have been like, you did fucking what? You know, congrats.
Totally. And there's a lot of songs on the record that are super like you know, radio. Like we had this song, it's the title track. And that's actually one of my favorite songs on the record. But I had no clue that the first single was going to end up being one of our heavier songs. Like, I mean, you know how Zayo's vocals are and Living Sacrifice and stuff. Like, think about that. Like, Octane's premiering that tomorrow. I'm so excited. Like, I just couldn't believe that heavy of a song got picked to go, you know, to radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Well, you know, and it goes kind of, I think the people who are watching now should go back and listen to the podcast. Obviously, we want everybody to do that, but it kind of goes back to the thing we talked about before. It's like you just do, like the power of doing, right? You're like, hey man, we've got this time. Don't stop doing anything. Just do, right? And then all of a sudden it turns around and it's the single. It's like, holy shit, that was just something that we did. Yeah. But I do need to know. You said trailer twice. What are we talking about here? What kind of trailer are we talking? What is this mythical trailer of ideas and mystery? What is going on?
So the trailer that carries all of our like equipment on tour. Yeah. So we have a van and trailer. Yeah. We have this back area kind of built out with like shelving and stuff, and that's where we keep our luggage. Well, our sound guy, he has like a little setup on the road where he does voice stuff. Like he's a voice guy that he does like stuff for like you know, like if you go to Disney, they're like, yeah, they're like, welcome to the Magic Kingdom. Like he does all that stuff. And that's his side hustle, or like that. I guess it's like his main hustle. Job. Like, we're probably his side hustle. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So he had a microphone and stuff, and we were like, dude, like, let's get our friends, like while we're on the road, let's just like have people do stuff. So we would go in the trailer and we would use that as our studio, and it worked. Like you would never know it. Like I think we're gonna do our next record probably kind of like that because it just worked out so well. Like again, like technology, the things we have today, it's changed the game. Like we're making music videos on our phone, we're recording in our trailer. Like things are different.
Dude,
That just made me like guttural inside, like scream. And you're so right. Like you're like, we don't need any of that shit. You hear that? That's trailer love right now.
Yeah. Well, it's like for me, I think about like a band like Pearl Jam that recorded, or Nirvana that recorded this stuff in 4 days, right? In a studio. It's like, man, that sometimes you can think about it and plan it and like really work on it and hone it. Other times you just got to get in there and do it, man. Again, just doing stuff, man, and not overthinking it. But the trailer, I still want to talk about the trailer.
He needs a trailer. To me, is it for sale?
To me, the trailer is, when you start explaining it, you were like the back of the trailer. And I was like, is this like a Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe kind of scenario where you go to the back of the trailer? Ozzy's back there. He's just hanging out. He's sitting in the corner, and there's a mythical door that opens into a mythical land, and then heads there, and everybody's there. Bruce comes over. He's from Living Sacrifice. These are the things that I want. Is
like
any
Narnia
of this
style?
Yeah. Is any of this? Is none of this is happening? So I was kind of off on it. Other than it was a studio.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, yeah. So I mean,
you're totally off on that.
All right. Well, I guess I dream bigger than you guys.
Like we recorded parts of the record like next to our luggage. Like
okay. All right.
Smelling those day olds.
Yeah, no, when you said trailer, that's what I thought, and I was like, I need to know about this magical trailer because it sounds like it's working, right? So that's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, man, any port in a storm, right? We got this thing. We're doing it here. So again, it goes back to you guys just doing and working at things and not expecting anybody to help.
Yeah.
I love it. Without any introduction, we're nearing time, but without any segue whatsoever, this is how I like to do it. If you could give a human being one virtue, which virtue would that be? If you could give all human beings a single virtue, what would that virtue be?
Wow.
Yeah, you're right. This is what it's about right here.
Probably
awkward thoughts.
Probably. No, probably grace. Grace would be a good one because I feel like, in the world we live in today, I don't feel like we take into account, like, the name of our record is it's not easy being human. I was looking at a lot of what was going on in the world with culture and just a lot of the stuff like that. And I just wish that humans had more grace with one another, more mercy, because I feel like we're all messed up to a certain extent. Like we've all done something that would get us canceled. And I just feel like if we all understood that each other was dealing with the sickness of being human, we would have just more of an understanding of each other. So I think grace and just, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a good one?
No, it's great. It's great. It's great. Yeah. And if you haven't noticed, we've segued into the part of the episode where we walk the plank. So you just walked the plank very successfully, my friend. Yeah, and Chad has a follow-up.
Here comes pirate number 2, our matey. What's your favorite childhood meal?
Oh man. And my favorite childhood meal, I'm gonna go with the one that just came straight to my mind, or two. Macaroni and cheese, and I like broccoli with cheese. There was a commercial that would come on 80s where the kid would go, cheese makes the difference. And I would always say that to my mom when she would put broccoli. I loved broccoli and cheese, and I loved macaroni and cheese. Those are my two.
Those are solid. I thought you were just going to give me straight up broccoli at first without the cheese. And I'm like, okay.
Honestly, I'm not even kidding right now. I think that I say the cheese makes the difference like literally 3 and 4 times a week, at least.
You said it to me twice on the phone.
Yeah, I know. Earlier. Yeah.
That's great.
I love it. Mac and cheese and broccoli and cheese. It's amazing.
We have one more from a very special guest. And guess what? This guest didn't know who they were going to be asking the question to.
Yes.
All right. And what happens afterwards is that you get to do that same shit to next week's guest, and they won't know who. You don't get to know who it is, and we don't get to, there's no clues. So I'm gonna go ahead in with their question, then I'll tell you who it is. The question is, who was the biggest douchebag you've ever played with, and was 9/11 an inside job? We didn't write them.
Wow.
Yeah. So a previous guest asked this question of you without knowing it was going to be you.
Believe me, you
Wow.
can bow out at question number one, because I do think that there is some, speaking of grace, there is some grace there. But number two, I guess there's no bowing out.
The perfect follow-up, the perfect question to follow up with. We need more grace. The first thing we ask him is, who's the biggest douchebag you know?
Oh man,
and in close proximity with for a long period.
Always the high road here on Making Waves.
Oh man. Okay. I'm just gonna say this. Anybody that we toured with or played with that believes with all their heart that they are a rock star, that's the biggest douchebags.
Yeah.
Those are the great ones, right?
Because I'm most of the big bands, most of the bands that are actually big, like Korn and Stone Sour and stuff, they are the sweetest sweethearts in the world, and they're not rock starry. And I've learned that, you know, there's no reason for anybody to be a rock star in this, man. We're all out here away from our families, trying to hopefully spread some goodness through our music, you know, whether it's, you know, getting our anger out together or screaming about, you know, something we believe in. I just don't believe there's any room for rock stars in rock stardom, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I love those people that have, you know, been the rock stars that have treated me like they're, you know, higher than thou or whatever. I love them, and I believe that there's a reason people act like that. I think hurt people, and I think that what it is an insecurity in themselves. So I try to remember that, and going back to grace, I remember just, you know, if somebody feels the need to act that way, it's not so much, you know, them needing somebody to tell them they're a jerk. They need somebody to tell them, hey man, like, you know, you matter, and you're somebody without your band. You don't need all this to be an important person in this world. We're, you know, I don't find my value in my band. So yeah.
Well, there you go, Chad. There you go, Chad. More than you bargained for on that one, buddy.
I mean, I didn't
Nice
bargain for
answer.
any of it. He's still got a second part of this question.
Oh,
because
shit.
there was two guests on last, like the band and both members were on it. So this is the other guy's follow up. Was 9/11 an inside job?
Was 9/11?
Duh. That's a great answer. What's so now you get to do the same thing. You won't, we can't tell you who the guest is, but just you know, walk the planks are supposed to be. And Al does this a lot better than I do, but just is supposed to be something that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with music, but can. But the idea is like it's virtue stuff, you know.
Okay. Oh, I know the question I'm trying to ask. Let me ask it. Hold on. I'm trying to think how to word it.
Yes, words are important.
What was the worst you ever hurt a fan's feelings on purpose or accident?
Oh shit, this is brutal. This is the best one I think I've written.
Oh my God.
What was the worst?
What a horrible question.
What was the worst?
In a great way.
Yeah. What was the worst way that you've accidentally or on purposefully?
Either way, he said. Yeah.
Either one. On purpose or accidentally. What's the worst you've ever hurt a fan's feelings?
Got it.
Oh man. What an interesting question. Good job.
That's great. And I really hope that they hey buddy. Sorry, Carl's just scratching the ground. I really hope that they take the time to have a little grace when they answer it.
It's all about the grace.
Fuck yeah, man.
That's right.
Thanks for that, dude.
Well, we are up upon it here. I know that you got to get ready for the gig. It sounds like you got it looks like you got the war paint on already. And by the way, we have a story about the war paint if you guys tune into the podcast, which will be available on Monday, wherever you get your podcasts. So we're going to close it out here. I want to thank Chad for being here. Obviously,
you're welcome, dude.
Obviously our esteemed guest tonight, joining us from lovely Joliet, Illinois. Everybody to ask for entertainment, engineer Jennifer Zito, who's right behind the screen. You all never know that she's there, but she's there. She's touching buttons. She's touching buttons, and that is not a euphemism. Our show coordinator, Heather Smith, our guest services angels who help you with everything on ShipRocked, Kathy Dallaire and Peggy Meyer. And of course, None of this would be possible without the captain himself, Mr. Alan Koenig. And we remind you all to rock hard and vacation harder. But remember, one more thing, everybody, one more thing. ShipRocked is 85% sold for 2023. Just so you know, no pressure, no nothing. But before we've gone on sale to the public, we are 85% sold for 2023. Thank you for that. Thank you for being part of this amazing community. And so that's some big news. So think about it. If you're wanting in, you got to get in. And that's not hyperbole. That's nothing. That's just straight facts and figures. 85% sold. We couldn't be happier with the response this year. Thank you for trusting us with your entertainment. Thank you for trusting us with putting a lineup together. So thank you. Yes, go.
I do not mean to interrupt, but I was going to say.
Of course. Hold on. You broke up right when you said I was going to say.
I'm not trying to make a spoiler away any fans. We have not yet. Oh, no. Can you hear me?
No.
No, and I think it's
every other
better.
Word. Yes, this is the suspense. This is the suspense we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is what this is what makes making waves right here.
Magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not trying to spoil anything, but we haven't received the offer for ShipRocked yet. And I wanted to say, Alan, everybody, we're Dominicans. We have to be on this ShipRocked. We have to. We're from the Dominican Republic. And I'm the only person in my family that's never been, and it's a dream come true for me. I mean, it would be a dream come true for me to be in the Dominican Republic with my band. I don't even know what to say. I'll fix you some Dominican food before ShipRocked if we get to do it. That's all. Love you guys.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna edit this down and put it on repeat for him, and I'm just gonna text it to him every day. Okay. It's like literally every day. I'm like, hey, don't forget. Yeah. Hey, don't forget. So man, we're gonna Dominican band. Yeah, love it. We would love to have you. We're just going to figure everything out, and we definitely would love to have you, man. And thank you for being here with us tonight. And I'm stoked to hear the new music. I'm stoked to download and listen to the album. Big fan of yours too.
You guys, I'm gonna send it to you guys as soon as this called in.
Yeah,
and then send you the new record,
and then we'll be Frans. Or I can be a Fran.
There's a callback.
Frans forever.
Yeah, Fran's forever.
Fran's forever. Good to see you, Mike. You have fun.
Thanks so much, man.
Dude.
We appreciate you.
Love you guys so much.
Have a great show and be safe, okay?
Sweet dreams.
Will do.
Sweet dreams.